My name is Bailey Winters. I was 32 years old, a certified public accountant, and my two children were sleeping on the floor of my childhood bedroom. 3 months earlier, I had called my mother from the parking lot of a family court building with mascara streaked down my collar and a custody agreement trembling in my hand. "Mom, I need help." She did not hesitate. "Come home, sweetheart. Just until you're back on your feet. Family takes care of family." What my mother did over the next 4 months, the rent she demanded, the lies she constructed, the doors she physically barricaded, I could have survived. But what I discovered inside her filing cabinet on a Tuesday afternoon in April altered everything. And what unfolded at that Mother's Day brunch with my grandmother and my aunt seated 3 feet away, that is the part none of them ever saw coming. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories. If you are new here, we share powerful true-life stories of family conflict, resilience, and quiet justice. Drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. Now, let us get into it. My ex-husband Kevin and I had been married for 9 years. He was magnetic when we first met and financially reckless every single year that followed. The divorce was not a surprise. The financial devastation was. Kevin had opened 4 credit cards in my name without my knowledge. He had accumulated $31,000 in debt across all of them. By the time the court finalized our separation, my credit score had collapsed to 412. I had 2 children, a stable career, and a number that made every landlord within a 60-mile radius turn me away. Lily was 7. Oliver was 5. They had spent their entire lives in a 3-bedroom house with a backyard and a swing set. Now they were seated in the back of my Honda surrounded by garbage bags stuffed with clothing, because I could not afford moving boxes. I contacted 3 apartments that first week. The first rejected me after the credit check. The second declined after the background check flagged the outstanding debt. The third never returned my call. My mother, Donna, lived in the house where I grew up, a 4-bedroom colonial in Ridgemont, roughly 40 minutes from my office. My father had paid off the mortgage before he passed away 5 years prior. The house was free and clear, or so I believed at the time. When I pulled into the driveway with Lily asleep against the window and Oliver clutching his worn stuffed rabbit, my mother was standing on the porch. She embraced me. She carried bags inside. She made grilled cheese sandwiches for the children at 9:30 at night. In my old bedroom, an air mattress was already inflated on the floor, queen-sized, prepared, as though she had been anticipating our arrival. I trusted her kindness that evening. That was my first mistake. The first week felt like a ceasefire. Not peace, simply the absence of open conflict. My mother prepared dinner every night. Pot roast on Monday. Chicken casserole on Wednesday. She set places for me and the children at the table beside my sister Megan and her husband Todd. We sat together like a staged family portrait. No one acknowledged that I was sleeping on an air mattress 6 feet from my own children. Megan was 28. She worked part-time at a nail salon and occupied the master bedroom with Todd, who was a plumber. They had moved in 2 years earlier when Todd's apartment lease expired. They never left. Megan nodded at me in the mornings. That was the full extent of it. She never asked how Lily was adjusting to her new school. She never asked why Oliver carried that stuffed rabbit everywhere he went. She poured her coffee, scrolled her phone, and walked past my children as though they were invisible. Todd was worse. He retreated into the garage whenever I entered the kitchen. When we crossed paths in the hallway, he looked straight through me. Once on the 3rd day, he muttered something beneath his breath. I did not catch the words. I caught the tone. I arranged my laptop on the bedroom floor and began working remotely. No desk. No chair. I sat cross-legged on the hardwood beside the air mattress and reconciled accounts for a manufacturing firm while Oliver napped at my side. Lily came in after school that first Friday. She pressed her palm into the mattress, and it sank straight to the floor beneath her hand. "Mommy, why is our bed squishy?" I told her it was an indoor camping adventure. She did not believe me. 7-year-olds have an instinct for the protective lies their parents tell. 3 weeks after moving in, I came downstairs at 6:15 in the morning. The children were still asleep. My mother sat at the kitchen table with a sheet of paper positioned in front of her. "Sit down, Bailey." The document was handwritten. Neat block letters, as though she had rehearsed them. Room and board, $1,500 per month. due the first of each month. I stared at it. $1,500 for one bedroom, an air mattress, no desk, no closet space, because Megan's overflow had claimed mine. Mom, you said just until I'm back on my feet. And her reply, rent is how adults get back on their feet. I looked at the paper again. She had dated it. She had written my full name at the top, formatted like a formal invoice. Does Megan pay rent? My mother lifted her coffee mug, took a deliberate sip. That's between me and your sister. Behind her, Megan walked into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, retrieved the creamer, poured it into her cup. She stood 3 feet away. She did not glance up, did not say good morning, did not acknowledge the document on the table. I calculated it in my head because numbers are what I do. $1,500 a month was the going market rate for a 2-bedroom apartment in Ridgemont. My mother was charging me full rent for a room with a deflating air mattress in a house that carried no mortgage, or so I still believed. The truth about that house was far more disturbing than anything I could have estimated. But I would not uncover it for another 7 weeks. I paid. First of the month. $1,500. Because I had nowhere else to go. The air mattress deflated every night, not suddenly, but gradually, the way the house seemed to exhale beneath us. I would fall asleep at 11 with the children on either side of me, the mattress still firm enough to feel like a real bed. By 3 in the morning, we were on the floor, the hardwood pressing into my hip. Oliver would curl into my side without stirring. Lily always woke up. She never complained. She simply lay there staring at the ceiling, waiting for morning. I needed a pump. There was one in the garage. I asked Todd. That pump is mine. Buy your own. I bought one. $14 at the hardware store. Every night after the children fell asleep, I would kneel on the floor and work the pump in the dark. That steady rhythmic sound became the private soundtrack of our nights. $1,500 a month for a room where my children woke up on the floor. I began keeping a ledger, professional habit. I recorded every payment, every expense, every condition my mother imposed. Column A, what I paid. Column B, what I received. The figures never balanced. One afternoon, I drove to a neighboring town and visited an apartment complex. A 2-bedroom unit near the elementary school. $1,100 a month. Smaller than my childhood bedroom, but it had 2 real beds and a kitchen I could use at any hour I chose. The landlord ran my credit. I watched his expression shift. I'm sorry, ma'am. We require a minimum score of 580. I was at 412. Kevin's fraudulent credit cards were still pulling me under. I drove back, walked past Megan on the sofa, walked past Todd in the garage, climbed the stairs to my room, pumped the mattress, and lay down between my children. I stared at the ceiling until morning came. Lily stared back. Here is what the interior of my mother's house looked like if you were keeping an honest score. Master bedroom. Queen bed with a pillow-top mattress, walk-in closet, private bathroom with a rain shower. Megan and Todd. Rent paid 0. My old bedroom. Air mattress on hardwood floor, no closet space, shared bathroom with my mother down the hall. Me, Lily, and Oliver. Rent paid $1,500 per month. Guest room, vacant, repurposed as Megan's craft space, where she stored acrylic nail supplies and watched videos on her phone. Occupied by no one who actually sleeps there. Megan worked 3 days a week at a salon called Polished. Todd worked full-time as a plumber. Between the two of them, they earned enough to rent their own place twice over. But why would they? My mother never asked them for a single dollar. I raised the subject with my mother once. Just once. Megan's been here longer. She's settled. She's been here 2 years, Mom. She moved in because Todd's lease expired. Exactly. She's settled. I watched Megan walk past my children every morning. Oliver would be seated on the hallway floor playing with his rabbit, directly in the path between the master bedroom and the kitchen. Megan navigated around him. Not over him. Around him, the way someone sidesteps an inconvenient obstacle. She never said good morning to him. Never tousled his hair. Never once asked Lily about school. My children were invisible inside that house. They slept on the floor. Megan slept on a pillow top. I paid $1,500. Megan paid nothing. And every Sunday at dinner, my mother bowed her head and thanked God for her family, all of us seated at that table, as though the table itself were perfectly level. It was not. I called my grandmother on a Tuesday night after the children fell asleep. Grandma June lived 2 hours north in a small house near the lake. She was 79 years old and sharp as a tax audit. "Grandma, I need to tell you what's been happening here." Her reply came quickly. "Oh, honey, your mother already told me everything. She said you're staying for free and haven't even offered to help with groceries." I gripped the phone. "For free? I'm paying $1,500 a month." Silence. "Then that can't be right." Donna said. Donna lied. More silence. June was not a woman who rushed to judgment. She was also not a woman who tolerated dishonesty. "I'll talk to her." "Not yet," I said. "Please. Let me handle this." I called my Aunt Ruth next. Ruth was my mother's younger sister. Practical, direct. She had quietly suspected for years that Donna embellished her own generosity. "Ruth, Mom is charging me $1,500 a month to sleep on an air mattress." Ruth exhaled slowly. "I want to say I'm surprised." "And Megan pays nothing?" "That I am not surprised about at all." "Can you help?" "Honey, I don't want to get caught between you and your mother. You know how she gets." I knew exactly how she got. My mother had spent decades carefully constructing her public image. Donna the generous. Donna the long-suffering. Donna the devoted mother who sacrificed everything for her children. The following Sunday, she hosted dinner and performed graciously for Todd's parents. When Bailey needed me, I didn't think twice. I opened my home. She pressed her hand to her chest as though reciting a pledge of allegiance to her own selflessness. Todd's mother said, "You're a saint, Donna." I cut my chicken and said nothing. By the end of the second month, I had applied to 6 apartments. All 6 had rejected me. My credit score was climbing, but slowly. The fraud dispute process consumed time. Each of Kevin's 4 cards required its own individual investigation, and the credit bureaus moved as though they were compensated by the hour. Donna was aware of every rejection. She kept careful track. Each time I returned home from a viewing looking defeated, she was waiting with the same practiced, sympathetic smile. "See, you need me, Bailey. I'm not the enemy here." She delivered it like a kindness. It landed like a cage door swinging shut. I paid the second month's rent. $3,000 total, transferred into my mother's account, for a room where my children ended up on hardwood by 3 in the morning. I began approaching the math differently. Not as a daughter. As a CPA. My father had paid off this house in 2019, the year before he died. I had been present at the celebration. Champagne, a ceremonially burned mortgage document in the backyard fire pit. Dad had grinned so broadly his glasses fogged. "No more payments, girls. This house is yours, free and clear." So if the house carried no mortgage, where exactly was my $1,500 going? One evening, while waiting for the children to finish brushing their teeth, I noticed a stack of mail on the kitchen counter. Most of it was ordinary, coupons, political flyers, but beneath it all sat a white envelope bearing a bank logo, addressed to Donna Winters, stamped in red, urgent. My mother appeared behind me. Her hand closed firmly over the envelope before I could read the return address. She tucked it silently into her apron pocket and returned to the living room without a word. I did not think about that envelope again. Not until week 7. If you have ever found yourself trapped in a place where leaving felt impossible, where the people meant to protect you became the very ones you needed protection from, I want you to know you are not alone. Keep listening. And if this story resonates with something you have lived, drop a comment below. Your stories matter too. Month 2 brought rules. My mother announced them on a Monday morning with the composed authority of a hotel manager addressing her staff. Kitchen hours, 6 to 7 in the evening. 1 hour. The stove, the oven, the microwave, all restricted outside that window. Megan needs the kitchen for her meal prep. Megan, who cooked twice daily. Breakfast at 8, dinner at 5. The remaining 21 hours, the kitchen stood idle except for Todd retrieving beers from the refrigerator. But the rule was the rule. I had 60 minutes to prepare food for 3 people. 60 minutes to boil pasta, heat sauce, plate meals, and wash every dish. If I ran over, my mother materialized in the doorway with her arms folded. Time's almost up. Then came the laundry schedule. Tuesdays and Thursdays between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. I worked full-time. I could not do laundry on weekday afternoons. I began washing clothes in the bathtub at night and draping them across the shower rod to dry. One evening while I rushed through spaghetti, Oliver tugged my sleeve. "Mommy, can I have more?" My mother was wiping the counter behind me, one eye on the clock. "You eat in your room," Donna said. Not to me. To my 5-year-old son. Oliver looked up at me. I spooned more spaghetti onto his plate. "He can eat right here." Donna did not argue. Instead, she pulled the kitchen timer from the drawer and placed it deliberately on the counter. She wound it to 55 minutes. It began ticking. 55 minutes, she said. Then the kitchen's closed. That timer sat on the counter every night after that. Ticking. Ticking. Counting down what my children were worth inside that house. 55 minutes. Not a second more. Lily's teacher called me on a Wednesday afternoon. "Mrs. Winters, I wanted to check in. Lily mentioned in class today that she sleeps on the floor at her grandmother's house. She said the bed goes flat every night." My face burnt. I was sitting in my car in the office parking lot. A pigeon crossed slowly across the hood. "We're in a transitional situation," I said. "I'm working on it." "Of course. I just want to make sure everything is okay." "It's okay." It was not okay. My 7-year-old had told her entire class that she sleeps on the floor. That story would travel from Lily to her classmates, from classmates to their parents, from their parents to the PTA mothers who knew Donna from church. I drove home rehearsing composure. The front door was unlocked. Donna was on the sofa watching television. Megan was painting her nails at the kitchen table. "Mom." Lily told her teacher about the air mattress. Donna turned from the screen. Her face went rigid. "You need to tell that child to stop broadcasting our family's private business. She's 7. She told the truth. The truth is I gave you a roof over your head. The truth is you should be grateful instead of letting your daughter embarrass this family." I looked at Megan. She was blowing on her nails. She did not look up. "Grateful?" I said. "I pay you $1,500 a month for that roof." "And it's still not enough for the trouble," Donna said. I went to my room, closed the door, sat on the air mattress, and listened to it slowly deflate beneath me while my children played on the rug. That night, I opened my laptop. I was done being grateful. I was going to be an accountant. Numbers do not lie. People lie. Numbers simply sit there, honest and indifferent, waiting for someone willing to read them. I settled on the bathroom floor at midnight with my laptop balanced on the toilet lid. The children were asleep. The mattress was still holding. I had perhaps 3 hours before it began sinking. I opened a spreadsheet. Monthly operating costs for a house this size in Ridgemont. Property taxes, roughly $4,000 a year. Homeowner's insurance, approximately $1,200. Utilities, $300, perhaps $350 in winter. No mortgage, Dad had paid it off. Total monthly overhead for Donna, roughly $800. I was paying $1,500. My rent alone covered the entire household and handed my mother $700 in clear profit. But that calculation assumed the mortgage was truly gone. I opened the county recorder's website and typed in the property address. Ridgemont County made all property records publicly searchable. Deeds, liens, mortgages, everything. The first result loaded. Original mortgage filed 2004. Satisfaction of mortgage filed 2019. That was Dad's payoff. The champagne. The fire pit. Below it, another entry. Second deed of trust filed March 2023. Lender, Pinnacle Home Lending. Amount, $62,000. I stared at the screen. My mother had taken out a second mortgage on the house my father paid off 3 years ago, without telling a single person. I scrolled further. The monthly payment listed on the deed, $850. I closed the laptop. Opened it again. Read the figures a second time, then a third. $850 a month. My rent was $1,500. Subtract the mortgage payment, and Donna still pocketed $650. But the mortgage was the secret. That was the detail no one in this family knew existed. I knew now. The following morning, I sat through breakfast as though nothing had shifted. Donna made oatmeal. Megan scrolled her phone. Todd grunted his way through toast. Oliver swung his feet beneath the table. Lily watched me. She always watched me. That child could read my expression the way I read a balance sheet. You okay, Mommy? I'm fine, baby. Eat your oatmeal. After work, I drove to the county recorder's office in person. I wanted physical copies. The clerk printed everything for $2 a page. Full mortgage agreement, complete terms, recorded payment schedule, lender details. Donna had borrowed $62,000 from Pinnacle Home Lending in March 2023. 3 years earlier, that same spring, she had begun selling wellness supplements through a company called Vitalux. She had hosted home parties, purchased inventory, and recruited neighbors into the program. Vitalux was a multi-level marketing operation, and Donna had invested heavily. By the time Vitalux terminated her account 18 months later, she owed the company $14,200 in unsold inventory and unpaid fees. The second mortgage had been her method of absorbing those losses. Current balance on the mortgage, $47,000. She was 3 months behind on payments. The bank had been issuing notices. One of those notices was the envelope I had watched her snatch from the kitchen counter. I sat in my car outside the recorder's office and ran the numbers one final time. Donna's Social Security income, approximately $1,800 a month. Mortgage payment, $850. That left $950 for everything else: food, utilities, insurance, her MLM debt. She was drowning. And my rent, my $1,500 a month, was her lifeline. I was not her daughter in that house. I was her payment plan. I drove home. I parked. I said nothing. And I started building. I need to tell you something honest. I almost let it go. Sitting on that deflating mattress at 2 in the morning, listening to Oliver breathe beside me, I thought about my mother 20 years ago. The woman who braided my hair before school. Who drove me to my SAT exam. Who wept at my college graduation and whispered, "Your father would be so proud." That woman was still in there somewhere, buried beneath 5 years of grief and a mountain of devastating financial choices. Dad's death had quietly unraveled her. The MLM venture was not rooted in greed. It was desperation wrapped in the appearance of opportunity. Some woman at church had told her she could become financially independent, and Donna had believed it the way drowning people believe in anything that keeps them afloat. I understood that. I genuinely did. But understanding someone's pain does not mean you allow them to charge you $1,500 a month to sleep on the floor. It does not mean you watch your children wake up on hardwood and call it generosity. It does not mean you remain motionless while someone rewrites reality and tells your grandmother you are living there for free. Feeling compassion for my mother and tolerating what she was doing to me were two entirely separate choices. I made the first. I refused the second. I contacted a credit repair service the following day. The fraudulent accounts Kevin had opened were actively being disputed. 2 had already been successfully removed. My score was climbing, slowly, the way the air mattress refilled each night when I worked the pump. Temporary, but rising. I estimated 60 days. 60 days to push my credit above 580. 60 days to secure an apartment. 60 days to assemble a case that could not be dismissed. I did not need a confrontation. I needed a timeline. And I needed one final piece of evidence from inside that house. On a Tuesday in April, the house was empty. Donna had a doctor's appointment at 10. Megan was at the salon. Todd was on a job site in Fairview. The children were at school. I told myself I was searching for my old tax forms. I needed them for the credit dispute. That part was entirely true. But I also needed to see what else was stored in that filing cabinet. My mother's bedroom carried the scent of lavender lotion and stale coffee. The filing cabinet stood in the corner, a 2-drawer metal unit painted beige. I opened the bottom drawer. A folder labeled house. I lifted it out. The second mortgage agreement sat right on top. I already held a copy from the county, but beneath it were 3 envelopes from Pinnacle Home Lending, late payment notices, February, March, April. 3 consecutive months. Below those, a letter from Vitalux. Dear Donna Winters, your distributor account has been terminated effective September 2024. Outstanding balance owed, $14,200. My mother owed Vitalux $14,000 on top of the $47,000 still remaining on the mortgage. And at the very bottom of the folder lay a sheet of yellow legal pad paper. My mother's handwriting, the same precise block letters from the rent invoice she had placed on the kitchen table. It was a budget, her personal budget, written out by hand. Bailey rent, $1,500. Below that, mortgage, $850. VA payment plan, $650. She had divided my rent precisely between the two debts she was concealing. $850 for the bank. $650 for the MLM. My $1,500 split like a paycheck between two creditors. My mother had budgeted my desperation down to the last penny. I photographed everything. The mortgage notices, the Vitalux letter, the yellow legal pad. 12 photographs in total. I returned every document to the exact position I had found it, closed the drawer, straightened the rug, washed my hands, made myself a cup of coffee in the kitchen I was not permitted to use, and sat down to plan. I am a certified public accountant. I have spent 12 years reading financial documents professionally. Building a case was not unfamiliar territory. It was, in fact, my specialty. Over the following 2 weeks, I compiled everything. Item 1. County property records confirming the original mortgage satisfied in 2019 and the second mortgage filed in 2023. Item 2. Photographs of 3 consecutive late payment notices from Pinnacle Home Lending. Item 3. The Vitalux termination letter with the outstanding balance. Item 4. The yellow legal pad, my mother's handwriting, my rent allocated directly to her debts. Item 5. A printed summary of tenant rights in our state. My mother had never asked me to sign a lease. There was no written agreement beyond her handwritten invoice. Without a lease, any claim that I owed $6,000 carried no legal standing. I could leave at any time. The money I had already paid was rent for months occupied, not a deposit, not a debt. Item 6. A section from the State Criminal Code. Physically preventing someone from leaving a dwelling constitutes unlawful restraint, a misdemeanor. I hoped I would not need that one. I called a free legal aid hotline to verify my interpretation of the law. The attorney on the line said, if there's no lease and no written agreement for a specific term, you're a month-to-month tenant at most. You can leave with 30 days' notice, and no one can legally prevent you from exiting a building. I printed everything, placed it in a manila envelope, and sealed it. My credit dispute was advancing. 2 of Kevin's fraudulent cards had been fully removed. My score had risen to 541 and was still climbing. I did not need a lawyer. I did not need a confrontation. I needed a spreadsheet, a manila envelope, and the right audience. Mother's Day was 3 weeks away. The kitchen timer grew worse. I do not mean the rules escalated, though they did. I mean the timer itself became a weapon. Donna began winding it shorter. 55 minutes became 50. Then 45. No announcement. No explanation. Simply the dial turned a little further back each evening. One night I was preparing chicken stir-fry. Lily was working through homework at the table. Oliver was drawing on a paper towel because I could not locate his coloring book among our single suitcase of belongings. This timer rang. Donna materialized in the doorway. Time. The chicken was not finished. I had 5 minutes remaining on the stove. Mom, the food isn't ready. Her reply came without hesitation. Timer doesn't wait for chicken, Bailey. I turned off the burner. I served half-cooked chicken to my children in our bedroom. We ate seated on the air mattress. Oliver said it tasted strange. I told him to eat the rice instead. Through the wall, I could hear Megan and Todd in the master bedroom, their television running at full volume. No kitchen timer governing their lives. No countdown measuring the worth of their meals. Lily looked at me while I picked at my plate. Mommy, when are we going to our own house? Soon, baby. How soon? 3 more weeks. She held up 3 fingers and counted them deliberately. Then she lowered her hand and ate her rice without another word. I sat there on that wheezing mattress and watched the light beneath the door disappear as my mother switched off the hall light. On the other side of that wall, My sister had a pillow-top mattress, unrestricted kitchen access, and a husband who tracked mud through the house, mud that I mopped up, because Donna had added cleaning to my list of household obligations. 45 minutes. That was what my family was worth inside that house. 3 more weeks. My credit score reached 583 on a Thursday morning. I refreshed the application 3 times to confirm it. By lunch, I was seated across from a woman named Mrs. Garza in a modest office above a dry cleaner. She managed a 12-unit building on Maple Street, 7 minutes from Lily's school. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, hardwood floors. Real ones. Not the ones my children had been sleeping on. Credit's not perfect, she said, reviewing my application. But your income is solid. 12 years at the same firm. I went through a divorce. My ex opened accounts in my name without my knowledge. I'm resolving it. Mrs. Garza studied me over the rim of her glasses. She was perhaps 60 years old. Silver rings on every finger. A photograph of grandchildren on her desk. I've been there, she said quietly. Different details. Same story. She slid the lease across the desk. $1,100 a month. First and last month's deposit. Move-in date, May 10th. 2 weeks away. I signed it in the parking lot. My hand did not tremble. I wrote a check for $2,200 and watched Mrs. Garza fold it carefully into her purse. I drove back to my mother's house and told no one. That evening, I began packing small bags and carrying them to the trunk of my car after the children fell asleep. 1 bag each night. Clothes. Toiletries. Lily's school papers. Oliver's rabbit. No, Oliver would notice immediately. The rabbit stayed. The manila envelope was tucked beneath the spare tire in my trunk. I checked it every night. Everything still in place. Mother's Day was May 11th. I would move in on May 10th. The brunch was scheduled for the following morning. The timing was not a coincidence. 2 more weeks. I could endure 2 more weeks. Todd caught me on a Saturday morning. I was transferring a duffel bag into the trunk. He was returning from the hardware store and slowed his truck to a crawl in the driveway, running away. He leaned from the window. Figures. Can't handle real life. I placed the bag in the trunk, closed it, and did not respond. He parked, climbed out, and positioned himself between me and the front door as though he owned the path. Your mom's been carrying you for months. Least you could do is say thanks. I looked at him steadily. Todd was 30 years old. He held a full-time job. His wife worked part-time. Together they had lived in this house for 2 years. They had contributed nothing. Not $1, not one expression of gratitude. And here he stood in my father's driveway instructing me to be thankful. Todd, how much rent do you pay? His jaw tightened. That's none of your 0. The answer is 0. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. He walked inside and let the screen door slam behind him. 10 minutes later, my mother appeared on the porch. Arms folded. The posture I had come to recognize as her opening position. Bailey, we need to talk about respect. We will, I said. She waited for more.
Jeg gav her nothing.
I walked past her into the house, climbed the stairs to my room, and sat on the mattress beside my sleeping children. Soon. She did not know what soon meant. None of them did. The manila envelope was in my trunk. My apartment lease was signed. My grandmother and my aunt had both confirmed they would be attending the Mother's Day brunch. 8 days. I know this story is intensifying, and I need you to stay with me, because what happens next at that Mother's Day table is the moment everything finally shifts. If you know someone who has found themselves in a situation like mine, share this video with them. Sometimes hearing another person's story is the first step toward finding the way out. For days before Mother's Day, I came home from work to find my apartment key missing from my purse. I searched the car, the bedroom, every coat pocket. Nothing. I had placed it in the front zip of my handbag that morning. Now the handbag was open and the key was gone. I could not prove what had happened, but the only people inside the house while I was at work were Donna, Megan, and Todd. I called Mrs. Garza. She cut me a new key for $10. I kept that key on a chain around my neck from that moment forward. Then on Friday, 2 days before Mother's Day, I loaded the last of the children's clothing into the car while they were at school. When I returned inside for the final bag, my mother was standing at the front door. Arms folded. Deadbolt locked behind her. "Where do you think you're going?" "I found an apartment. We're moving out tomorrow." "You're not going anywhere until you pay what you owe." "I don't owe you anything beyond what I've already paid." 4 months, Bailey. You've only paid 3. Plus utilities, plus food, plus that mattress. You owe me $6,000 first. She delivered it like she was reciting from a binding contract. Like settled law. Like the woman blocking my exit had any legal authority to keep me there. I looked at the deadbolt. I looked at my mother. She was 5'2", 130 pounds. But standing in that doorway with her chin raised and her shoulders squared, she looked like a solid wall. "Mom, you need to move." Her reply was immediate. "Make me." I could have called the police. Unlawful restraint, a misdemeanor. But my children would come home from school to sirens outside their grandmother's house. I would not do that to them. "Fine," I said. "I'll pay." She stepped aside. She believed me. That was her mistake. I walked to my bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the mattress. My hands were completely steady. My breathing was even. 12 years of reconciling accounts for clients who shouted at me across conference tables had taught me one enduring lesson. Panic is a luxury you cannot afford when the math is already on your side. I had no intention of paying $6,000. The law did not require it. The lease that did not exist did not require it. My mother's handwritten invoice on a scrap of paper would not withstand scrutiny in any court in this state, but confronting her directly at the front door would not have served me. She would have wept, summoned Megan, telephoned Grandma June, and delivered her version of events first. By the time I had the opportunity to speak, the narrative would have already been poured in concrete. I needed witnesses. I needed the right room. I needed people who loved my mother, but loved the truth more. Mother's Day was Sunday, 36 hours away. I texted Aunt Ruth. "I need you at brunch tomorrow. It's important. Please stay after we eat." Ruth replied within 4 minutes. "Already coming. What's going on?" "I'll explain tomorrow. Just be there." I texted Grandma June. "Can you stay a little after brunch? I have something to share with the family." June replied, "Of course, sweetheart." "Are the children all right?" "They will be." I went to Staples that afternoon and printed the photographs from the filing cabinet, the yellow legal pad, the mortgage notices, the Vita Lux termination letter. I made 3 copies of everything and placed them in the manila envelope alongside the originals. That night, I moved my car to the street so I could load it in the morning without Donna watching. Tomorrow. Everything would happen tomorrow. Saturday night, the night before Mother's Day, I was folding Oliver's shirts on the mattress when Megan knocked on my door. She never knocked. In 4 months, she had spoken to me directly perhaps a dozen times, always in the kitchen, always about logistics, never once in my room. "Can I come in?" I opened the door. She stood in the hallway in her pajamas, arms wrapped around her own elbows. "Mom told me you tried to leave without paying." "That's really low, Bailey." I folded another shirt. "Megan, do you know how much rent I've been paying?" Her reply came without hesitation. "That's between you and Mom." There it was. The precise same phrase. Donna's words traveling directly through Megan's mouth. Same cadence. Same deflection. "That's between me and your sister." Like a script carefully passed down the line. "Do you know about the second mortgage?" Megan froze. Her arms dropped. "What second mortgage?" "On this house. The one Dad paid off. Mom took out a second mortgage 3 years ago." She blinked and opened her mouth. From downstairs, Donna's voice cut through. "Megan, come help me with the table for tomorrow." Megan looked at me. Then she looked toward the stairs. She chose the stairs. I listened to her footsteps descend. Listened to the murmur of voices rising from the kitchen below. I could not distinguish the words, but I could hear the rhythm. Donna's voice, rapid and authoritative. Megan's voice, small and accommodating. The same familiar music they had performed my entire life. She knew now, or she was choosing not to know. That was the defining thing about Megan. She possessed an extraordinary capacity for knowing precisely when to stop asking questions. Tomorrow at that table, there would be no more questions left to avoid. I checked the manila envelope one final time. Everything was in order. I set my alarm for 6. Mother's Day. May 11th. The sun rose as though it had no idea what was coming. I dressed the children first. Lily in her blue dress. Oliver in the polo shirt Grandma June had sent for Easter. I brushed Lily's hair and she held perfectly still, which she never did. She could sense it. Children recognize when something is about to shift. They do not require words. They simply read the atmosphere around them. Downstairs, Donna was in full performance. Aprons cinched, cinnamon rolls warming in the oven, a banner stretched across the dining room archway, Happy Mother's Day. She had purchased fresh flowers, white roses, and arranged them in the centerpiece that had once belonged to my grandmother. Todd was carving a ham at the counter. Megan was setting places. 6 chairs around the table. Donna had added 2 folding chairs for Grandma June and Aunt Ruth. June arrived at 10:30. She embraced Lily, pinched Oliver's cheeks, and said, "You look thin, Bailey." She said it quietly, not as casual observation, but as genuine concern. Ruth pulled in 5 minutes later. She caught my eye the moment she stepped through the door. "Ikeo sinkinot." She returned it. We ate cinnamon rolls, ham, scrambled eggs, and sweet potato hash, the dish Donna prepared every Mother's Day because her own mother had passed the recipe to her. The food was wonderful. It always was. My mother's cruelty never once extended to her cooking. The manila envelope rested beneath my chair. I could feel its edge pressing against my ankle every time I shifted my position. Donna sat at the head of the table and looked slowly around the room at her assembled family. Grandmother, sister, 2 daughters, 1 son-in-law, 2 grandchildren. "I'm so blessed," she said softly, "to have my whole family here." She meant it. She also had no idea what was about to unfold. After the plates were cleared, Donna rose from her chair. She smoothed her apron and rested her hand on the back of her seat. She had rehearsed this. "I want to say something. This year has been hard." She paused, allowing the silence to do its quiet work. When Bailey came to me after her divorce, I didn't hesitate. Not for 1 second. I opened my home. I gave her and the children a place to stay, because that is what a mother does. She pressed her hand to her chest. Her eyes glistened with moisture. Practiced or genuine? After 4 months, I could no longer distinguish between the two. Some people don't appreciate what family does for them. Some people take and then attempt to leave without even saying thank you. Grandma June nodded. She was absorbing the version of events Donna had been carefully feeding her for months. The version where I was ungrateful. The version where Donna was the selfless saint. Aunt Ruth set down her wine glass. She was watching Donna the way I had watched my mother for 4 months, with the patient composure of someone waiting for a critical document to finally arrive. Donna turned to face me. $6,000, Bailey. That's all I asked. 4 months of room and board. And you tried to slip out in the middle of the night. The room went silent. June looked at me. Ruth looked at me. Megan stared at her plate. Todd leaned back in his chair with his arms folded across his chest, wearing the expression of a man entirely convinced he had already won. My mother stood at the head of her table in her house, surrounded by her family, and she waited for me to collapse. I reached beneath my chair. "Thank you, Mom. May I say something as well?" Donna opened her hands with a gracious sweep. "Of course, sweetheart." I placed the manila envelope on the table. I did not open it. I simply let it sit there. "You're right. I moved back home after my divorce, and you did open your door." "That is true." Donna nodded, the Queen graciously accepting tribute. "But I want everyone present to understand the complete picture, because the version Mom has been sharing is not the full picture." I looked at June, then at Ruth, then back at Donna. I have been paying $1,500 a month in rent for my old bedroom, with an air mattress that deflates completely every single night. June set her fork down. $1,500? Donna, you told me she was staying here for free. Donna's smile flickered. Well, room and board is reasonable. It isn't free. I provide meals, utilities. My kitchen access was restricted to 55 minutes a day, Grandma. Mom set a timer. Ruth exhaled, short and sharp, as though she had been holding her breath for months. Lily and Oliver slept on the floor. Every night, Grandma. The mattress deflated by 3 in the morning, and my children woke up on hardwood. June's hand rose slowly to her mouth. She was staring at my mother, not with anger, not yet, with something far worse. Bewilderment. Donna, you told me Bailey wasn't contributing. You said she was living here at no cost. I didn't. It's more complicated than she's making it sound. Is it true that you charged her $1,500 a month? Donna's jaw moved. No sound emerged. I had not raised my voice. I had not leveled accusations. I had simply stated numbers. Numbers do not shout. They do not need to. The entire table was listening. Now, I'd also like to ask, in front of everyone, how much rent Megan and Todd pay? Megan's fork clinked against her plate. She did not look up. Todd shifted in his chair. That's between me and Donna began. Let me finish. The room fell completely silent. Even Oliver stopped kicking the table leg. Megan and Todd have occupied the master bedroom for 2 years. Rent-free. They have a queen bed, a walk-in closet, and a private bathroom with a rain shower. My children and I shared a single room with an air mattress and no closet space because Megan's overflow belongings filled mine. I turned directly to Megan. You walked past my children every single morning on your way to the kitchen. Oliver sat on the hallway floor. You stepped around him. Megan's eyes had gone red. She was staring fixedly at the tablecloth. I paid $1,500 a month. You paid nothing. My children slept on the floor. And you walked past them every day. Ruth leaned forward. Donna, is this true? Megan and Todd pay nothing? Donna, Megan's situation is different. Todd pushed halfway to his feet. We contribute around the house. So do I said. I also cooked within a 55-minute window and washed laundry in the bathtub at night because your schedule took priority over my children's basic needs. June's gaze traveled to the kitchen counter. The timer was still there, resting on the formica like a relic from a museum of quiet, calculated cruelties. Donna, June said. Her voice had shifted entirely. Low and measured. The kind of quiet that precedes a verdict. Explain yourself. My mother looked at her own mother. For the first time in 4 months, she had no script. No rehearsed speech. No martyr's performance waiting in reserve. I opened the envelope. I withdrew the first document and placed it on the table between the cinnamon roll platter and the vase of white roses. This house, the one Dad paid off before he died. Mom took out a second mortgage on it 3 years ago. $62,000. June's hand pressed flat against the table. What did you just say? Pinnacle Home Lending. Filed March 2023. You can verify it yourself on the county recorder's website. It's a matter of public record. I placed the second document alongside the first. Current balance, $47,000. She is 3 months behind on payments, February, March, and April. The bank has been issuing late notices. I passed the stack across to June. Her hands trembled as she read. Ruth rose from her seat and moved behind June's chair to read over her shoulder. The mortgage payment is $850 a month, I continued. Mom's Social Security brings in approximately $1,800. After the mortgage, she has $950 remaining for everything else. Donna was standing rigid, gripping the back of her chair. The color had drained entirely from her face, pale as the white roses beside her. I produced the photograph of the yellow legal pad. Donna's handwriting, precise and unmistakable. This is Mom's personal budget, written in her own hand. I read it aloud. Bailey rent, $1,500. Mortgage, $850. Vitalux payment plan, $650. Ruth looked sharply across the table. Vitalux? Donna, you told me you walked away from that 2 years ago. She did walk away, I said. They terminated her account. But she still owes them $14,200 in outstanding balance. That is what the $650 each month was designated for. I set the Vitalux termination letter on the table. June was reading everything methodically. Her mouth had become a thin, firm line. Beside her, Ruth had placed a steady hand on June's shoulder. My mother's entire financial reality was now spread across the Mother's Day table, between the glazed ham and the fresh flowers. Every concealed debt, every fabricated narrative, Every number she had hoped no one would ever see. I sat back. I did not say another word. I allowed the documents to speak for themselves. Numbers do not lie. Donna moved first. She reached across the table for the papers. June pulled them firmly away. You had absolutely no right to go through my private belongings. Property records are public, Mom. Anyone with an internet connection can retrieve a mortgage filing. That is private family business. You made it my business the moment you charged me $1,500 a month to service your debts. Donna's hands were trembling. Not the performance trembling I had witnessed before. Real trembling. The kind that originates from the floor collapsing beneath someone who genuinely believed they were standing on solid ground. I was going to lose the house. Her voice fractured. After your father died, I didn't. The Vitalux woman said it was a sound investment. She said I'd recover everything within 6 months. I borrowed against the house to cover the startup costs. And when it all collapsed, I had no idea what else to do. For one single moment, just one, I saw her clearly. Not the woman who had charged me rent. Not the woman who had physically blocked my exit. The woman who had lost her husband at 53 and quietly unraveled. The woman a con artist had targeted at a church potluck. The woman too proud, far too proud, to ask anyone for help. One moment. Then it passed. If you hadn't gotten divorced, none of this would have happened. She leveled her finger directly at me. This is your fault, Bailey. You arrived here with your problems and your children, and now you're trying to destroy me. June stood up. She was 5'4" and 79 years old, and she filled every corner of that room. Donna Marie. Sit down. Donna sat. Todd pushed halfway out of his chair. This is family business. Bailey shouldn't be airing. Ruth turned to him with complete composure. Todd, sit down. You live here for free. You don't get an opinion. Todd sat. June turned to Megan. Did you know about any of this? Megan was crying. Quiet, restrained tears, the kind that surface after years of deliberate avoidance finally catch up with a person. I didn't know about the mortgage. I swear. Did you know your sister was paying $1,500 a month while you contributed nothing? Megan pressed her napkin against her face. Mom said it was fair, because Bailey needed more support since she had the children and we didn't. More support. Ruth repeated the words slowly, letting them hang in the air. Your sister was sleeping on a deflating air mattress and cooking within a 55-minute window every evening. That is the support. Megan looked at me. I looked back. I had waited 4 months to say what came next. I said it without raising my voice even slightly. My children slept on the floor, and you walked past them every single morning. Megan had no answer. Todd reached for her hand beneath the table. She pulled it away from him. Megan, Ruth said quietly. You owe your sister a response. I'm sorry. Megan's voice was barely a whisper. I should have said something. I should have noticed. Mom said everything was handled, and I believed her. You believed her because believing her was easier, I said. She nodded. She did not argue. I did not want Megan's tears. I did not want her guilt performed before an audience. I wanted her to truly comprehend the air mattress, to feel the hardwood pressing against her children's backs, even though she had no children of her own. To genuinely understand that walking past a 5-year-old seated on the floor every single morning and saying absolutely nothing is a deliberate choice. Silence is always a choice. Thank you, I said, for the apology. I hope you mean it. She nodded again. I moved forward. There was one more person whose voice needed to be heard. Grandma June lifted the photograph of the yellow legal pad, held it close to her face, and read it one final time. Then she set it down and placed both hands flat and steady on the table. Donna, you will not charge Bailey another cent. Not today. Not ever. Donna opened her mouth. June raised a single finger. The mouth closed. Bailey, you said you found an apartment. I move in tomorrow. Good. I'll help you carry boxes. She turned back to Donna. Now this house. Your father and I purchased it in 1987. I co-signed the original mortgage. I am still on the deed. Donna went pale. Paler than she already was. You took out a second mortgage without informing me. You used this house, our house, as collateral for a scheme that cost $62,000. And then you charged your own daughter rent to cover your payments while your other daughter lived here at no cost whatsoever. June paused. The room was absolutely still. Oliver was leaning heavily against my arm, drifting toward sleep. Lily was watching everything with quiet, steady eyes. We are going to see a financial counselor this week. You, me, and Ruth. Every obligation on the table, every debt accounted for. We will resolve this together, the way a family should have approached it from the very beginning. She looked directly at Megan. And you and Todd will begin paying rent. $800 a month. Less than what your mother charged Bailey for an air mattress. Todd's face darkened. He said nothing. There was nothing left to say. June reached across the table and lifted the kitchen timer from the counter. She examined it for a brief, deliberate moment. Then she silenced it, opened the junk drawer, placed it inside, and closed the drawer firmly. Bailey, sweetheart. She looked at me with complete clarity. You do not owe your mother $6,000. You don't owe her a single thing. I stood up. I'm going to collect the children's belongings. No one stopped me. No one moved toward the door. I went upstairs. Lily and Oliver's toys were gathered in a box beside the air mattress. I lifted the box and took one final look around the room. The mattress was still there, half deflated from that morning. A hollow depression in the center where 3 bodies had slept. Bare walls. The closet still filled with Megan's belongings. Mommy, are we going to our new home? Lily was standing in the doorway. Yes, baby. We are. Does the new home have real beds? It does. She reached down and picked up Oliver's stuffed rabbit from the floor, pressing it against her chest. Good. I carried the box downstairs, through the dining room, past the table where the documents still lay spread like formal evidence exhibits, past my mother, sitting with her face buried in her hands, past Megan, who was staring blankly out the window, past Todd, who was studying his shoes with great concentration. The front door was unlocked. No one standing in it. No crossed arms. No deadbolt turned against me. I walked through. June was already at my car, holding the trunk open. She lifted the box from my arms and placed it carefully inside. Then she drew me into a long, unhurried embrace. She smelled of cinnamon rolls and her familiar cold cream, exactly the way she had smelled my entire life. I should have asked more questions, she whispered. I'm sorry. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. She pressed a kiss to Lily's forehead, squeezed Oliver's small hand, and watched quietly as we drove away. The house grew smaller in my rearview mirror. I did not look back. 2 weeks later, I stood in the doorway of a bedroom that was not mine. It was Lily's. Mrs. Garza had helped me carry the twin bed frame up the stairs herself. She mentioned her grandson had outgrown it. For my conscience, she said, and charged me $20. Oliver received a toddler bed from the same grandson. Same price. The first night, I checked on them 3 separate times. Both asleep. Both on proper mattresses. Both breathing slow and even on beds that would not sink beneath them by morning. I sat at my own kitchen table at 11:15 at night and made a cup of coffee. No timer. No 55-minute window. No one stationed in the doorway measuring the value of my family's meals. The clock on the stove simply displayed the time, and that was the only thing it did. My credit score had climbed to 627. 3 of Kevin's 4 fraudulent accounts had been successfully removed. The 4th was in final review. Grandma June visited twice in those first 2 weeks. She arrived each time with handmade quilts for the children, trains for Oliver, stars for Lily. She sat on my sofa, drank her tea, and told me about the financial counselor appointment. Donna had attended. Reluctantly. The MLM debt was being restructured into a manageable payment plan. The mortgage was being renegotiated directly with the bank. June was overseeing the entire process with quiet, steady authority. Aunt Ruth came by on a Saturday and helped me hang curtains. She brought a casserole. We ate it sitting on the floor because I did not yet own enough chairs. Just like old times, she said. We both laughed, the full, unguarded kind. Megan sent one text. I'm sorry. I replied, thank you. Nothing more. Some apologies need considerable time before they grow into anything of substance. Megan and Todd began paying $800 a month in rent. June had insisted. Donna did not resist. She had no leverage remaining. My mother had not called. I was not sitting by the phone waiting. The apartment was modest. The beds were real. The door was mine. I learned something fundamental inside that house. The people who announce that they are helping you and the people who genuinely help you are not always, are rarely, the same people. Sometimes the door that is locked and barricaded against you is precisely the one you were always meant to walk through. And sometimes the most valuable thing you can possess is not $6,000. It is the truth. The truth does not deflate at 3 in the morning. It does not come equipped with a countdown timer. It simply waits, patient and immovable, for the moment you are finally ready to use it. That is my story. 4 months on an air mattress, 1 manila envelope, and a Mother's Day brunch that quietly, irrevocably changed everything. If this story reminded you that you deserve better, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for being here.